All right. Hello and welcome to Critical Conversations. Sorry, doing that mic check because I never remember to check the mic until I start talking. Sorry, guys. How's it going? How are you? What's new in your world? Oh, great. Now I've messed up my mic. Um, Anyways, welcome, Critical Conversations. I'm your host, Karissa Dean. I'm so thankful that you choose to spend some time with me. Today, I'm going to be diving into a really raw experience that just happened to me recently and how I'm navigating that. And I want to share for a multitude of reasons, but mostly because I think that it's important to not feel like you're alone. And I think a lot of us wander around this earth feeling really isolated. And so the more vulnerable we do get as a collective and we start sharing stories with each other, I feel like that's when we get the encouragement, right? The empowerment to want to make change in our personal lives. And so I want to share this story because I think it's something that many people will relate to. And I also want to share it because what it did for me was really unlock a new layer. And let's just dive right in. I went to the local movie theater with my daughter and her best friend, and we were standing in line to go see Wicked, and which, by the way, it was amazing. I'm not going to lie. And I'm somebody who loves musicals, but I was kind of dreading going. One, because I knew it was a long movie showtime, and I can get uncomfortable or like a little bit antsy in movies sometimes if they drag on. But let me tell you, first of all, this movie was absolutely phenomenal. Highly recommend it. There's a beautiful message behind it. I definitely want to see it again. But the message behind it really did it for me. But you guys, time wise, it's like a 3-hour running time almost. It flew by for me. So if you're like, oh, I don't know, and really, as far as musicals go, it's not like they're singing the whole time either. So you can totally you can do this and you'll probably love it. Ruby loved it. Her friend loved it. Anyways, so we're standing in line and there's a woman in front of us with 3 children. And everyone looked, normal. Everyone was clean, like no concerns. But the woman was having a very hard time standing upright. And I was, in my mind at the time, just being behind them, I was curious, like, oh, maybe she's disabled. Like, maybe I need to offer her a hand to her chair. But there was an older kid, and I was like, well, if she really was disabled, the older kid would probably be giving her a hand. And so I didn't say anything, but literally the woman had to be stabilizing herself on the wall, on the counter, something. And it wasn't until she got to the counter I saw her eyes. And I'm probably going to cry as I share this story because it really impacted me I think that it was probably one of the most impactful situations I've honestly ever been through. As far as other people, right? I've seen car accidents. I've helped an old man who got into a car accident and ran across the road. This goes beyond all of my trauma with family members going through chemotherapy, dying. This woman and this exchange that I had with her, I will never forget it. I will never forget the details of it. It was so impactful to me. I saw her eyes. And she was definitely high. I don't know what she was on. I don't know if maybe she did have an injury, a physical injury or a physical issue, and she maybe just kind of overdid it. I don't know if it was intentional. I don't know if she was numbing herself because she had, unattended traumas. I don't know if she just, popped a weed gummy and it was too high, too much for her. I mean, hello, we've all experimented with shits. I've had surgeries and it's been too much and I've gotten high because I have a very, I have a very high pain tolerance. And so when I take narcotics, for pain, it fucks me up. So I'm the person who I just never take it. I just deal with the pain because I don't like the way I feel because it gets me too high. So, I'm like, maybe she did that. Like I've taken a weed gummy before and been like, oh, fuck, that was too much. Like, didn't like that. Way too strong for me. Right. Like, I think we've all been there, right? You go out with your girlfriends, you drink too much, you have a hangover, whatever. Like shit happens, right? And so it was the first time, and like there's so many things that happened in this dynamic. But one of the first things that happened in that exact moment was I had no judgment. And that is like a miracle, really. And I'm not saying this to be like, oh, I'm some like righteous person or whatever. I'm saying like I had an out of body experience where I saw myself in this situation and I didn't have judgment. I was not standing there being like, well, how dare she? Or like, oh my God, what kind of a mother is she? Like I had zero opinions about her situation. All I had was compassion. All I could think about was like, okay, how can I help? So she's clearly high. And, in some regards, I'm like, good for her. And on the other hand, I'm like, oh shit, what's going on in her world? But what happened is the movie theater couldn't take Apple Pay. So she didn't have her wallet on her. So she couldn't physically hand them a card and they were not having it. So they had already ordered all this food and she was like, okay, never mind. And they kind of just walked away and they started walking in towards the theater. And, this high school kid is behind the counter and he's like, ma'am, you guys also didn't buy tickets. So she comes back, tries to do the same thing. And he's like, no, I physically need the card to be here. And it was that's when it hit her. Like, that's when she realized, oh, I fucked up, or, oh, I can't make this happen for my kids. And I saw her start to cry and she kind of went off to the side with her kids. And I was watching the whole situation unfold. Meanwhile, there's a fucking line of people behind us because we were kind of, Ruby gets really anxious about being on time, probably because I'm always late. So we were like on time, early, waiting. Like we were so early, we went to the bar next door and I had a cocktail. And the girls like sat in a booth and we just talked for a little bit. And I had a cocktail because we were like 40 minutes too early, but anyways. So like, I get it, Mom. You want to go out to the movies and you want a fucking cocktail or you want a weed gummy or like whatever. I really don't give a fuck. I get it. Like, I get it. Right? Go have it. Do your damn thing. Like, you're worthy of enjoying your life too. It doesn't make you a bad mom. So I want to like say that first of all. It doesn't make her a bad mom. Like, I don't know her story. And this is like the realization I had. Like, this was why this was so impactful for me. It was this out of body experience because I wasn't judging her. I was just like, oh shit. So anyways, there's this line of people behind us. We're up next. I'm like, Ruby, order our shit. Like, here's the credit card, do your thing. I go over to this mom and I look at her and I'm like, hey, I would love to buy your guys' movie tickets. Just stay right here. I'll buy your movie tickets. And she took my hand and she was like, no, I can't let you do that. And I was like, no, it would be my pleasure. Like, I would really like to do this for you. It's not a problem. And we like had this back and forth and I was holding her hand. I was looking her dead in the fucking eyes and she wouldn't take my gift. And, the hindsight guilt that I went through yesterday was, why didn't I tell her she could Apple Pay me? Like, if she had the money and it was like a pride thing, like, why didn't I say, well, just Apple Pay me? Right? Like, why the fuck didn't I just say that? Like, I could have said that. Or pay me later, or like, here's my fucking business card, like, write me a check, like, oh. And so I definitely like had that moment of guilt of like, shit, why didn't I say that? But I didn't. And they ended up leaving. Kids were crying, she was crying, and I was so disoriented. Came back to the counter. I was so just like, I could not get my wits about me. And like, if you've ever hung out with me, like, I'm the person who always has, like, I always pretty much for the most part have it together. And if I don't have it together, I'm sick or something's wrong. Right. And I was so fucked up. I paid. I took the girls inside, I got them settled, and I could not shake this woman's eyes or the feel of her hand. Like, to this moment, I could tell you she had the softest hands I've ever held. And her eyes were pure and honest, and she was a good human. It's like she was a good human and she got caught with her pants down for like a moment, right? Like her hands were like, she had a beautiful shellac manicure with like Christmas decoration. Like, this woman had her shit together, right? But just for a minute, she was caught with her pants down. So I went back outside and I was like, I gotta find her. And I couldn't find her. And I started to cry because it was so many things, right? So it's like, I had this moment where I just wanted to help. So for me, it's not about, her not accepting, like, there's nothing about me in this situation. It was more about, one, I got pissed because why the fuck as women can we not receive? Why as women do we not take help that is being offered to us? Why do we not say yes? Why do we not say thank you? Like, even as simple as like somebody opening the fucking door for you. Thank you. Like, why can we not accept and receive support? So that was one huge factor for me. And then the other factor was like, fuck, this woman should not be out driving her kids. She shouldn't even be out walking with her kids. And so there was this huge moment where I felt like I had let these kids down. And, I had a fear of their safety, right? And whatever dynamic she was going to go home to, right? Let's say she is going to go home to a partner who's going to be mad at her because she overdid it. Like, I was worried about whatever dynamic was also waiting for them at home, because the reality is people who want to get high are running to something, right? They got a hit of something. They liked the feeling of it and they're running to that same experience again. Or they're numbing from their current reality. They're running from something. People who do drugs generally are running to or running from. Sometimes people are like, yeah, let's just get high and have fun. There's that dynamic too. But I know that this woman had pain. I know that something was not right in her world and she just wanted to take a breather, and she did whatever she did. Maybe she does it too much. Maybe she has a problem. I don't fucking know. None of my fucking business. What's my business is, one, why can't women receive? And two, why don't we take care of each other? Like, the kid behind the counter knew that woman was high and he should have just let her fucking walk in there, and he should have told her his boss. And you know what? I bet his boss would have been like, you made a good call by not letting that woman back out onto the street with her 3 young kids. We don't take care of each other. We don't choose ourselves and take care of ourselves. And we walk this earth as zombies, feeling isolated, feeling alone, feeling hopeless. And so from this incident, I was fucked up, you guys, and it takes a lot. Like, I am very secure in the work that I do. I hold a lot of space for a lot of different individuals. And I tell you what, I have not been impacted so directly. And one, I think it's because it caught me off guard. Two, I wasn't really, ready. Like, I didn't have that work hat on, right? I was just going out to a movie. But like, I think what it did for me is it made me really want women to know they're not alone. Like, I hope that on the receiving end of me holding her hand and looking into her eyes and making eye contact and pleading with her to let me please buy her movie tickets. Like, here's the thing. I didn't offer to buy all the fucking snacks, right? I didn't offer to buy everything. I offered to buy her movie tickets so that they could go sit and watch a fucking movie. Would I have bought all the snacks and stuff? Yes, absolutely. Like, it was a done deal in my mind. But that's not what I said. That's not what I offered, right? But the reality is why is it so hard for us to take care of each other? Like, who's ever forgotten their wallet? all the time, right? Like I forget my keys, I forget my wallet, I forget my water, I forget, like, like life happens, and sometimes we get caught with our pants down. Sometimes we make bad decisions. I remember last year, Nigel's Christmas party. I didn't eat all day. This is classic Karissa move. I don't eat, and then we go to a party, and I don't eat at the party because I'm too busy being Miss Social, and everybody's giving me drinks. And of course, we're at a party with a bunch of truck drivers, and all the truck drivers want to take shots. So I take shots with all the truck drivers because, truckers don't really drink and drive, right? But like when they have a designated driver, those boys sure like to throw down. You guys, I was so hungover and like it was awful. I got caught with my pants down, and it was like a miserable hangover. And that was a year ago. And like I haven't done it since. Like we all do stupid shit, make mistakes. And like I look back and I'm like, fuck that. Like I got so fucked up. I don't ever want to be that fucked up. Right? Like Nigel's like, yeah, you and Ruby were like having an argument, and you like wouldn't change the radio station, and she was so mad at you, and I didn't remember it. And I'm like, I never want to be that intoxicated again, right? So it's like we make decisions and then we choose not to behave in that way again, right? So now it's like, okay, the assistant knows, everybody knows, you can't just bring Karissa drinks, you have to bring Karissa food, and Karissa has to sit down and actually eat the meal. And like Nigel is like, okay, we gotta like make sure that you have a big lunch before we go, right? And I also get to be participating in that decision, and I get to be like, wow, maybe I'm not taking the 5 shots with you guys this year. Like I will do 1 team shot, or maybe I won't do any, right? But it's like, you get caught with your pants down sometimes because you want to let loose. You want to let your inhibitions go, and you just want to enjoy life. There is nothing wrong with that, right? Those moments happen. So I don't know if it was that for her or if she's hurting. I don't know if she has a terrible dynamic situation at home. I don't know if she doesn't actually have the money. I don't know what her situation is. I really don't fucking care. It's none of my business. But I wanted to help her in that moment. And it's so hard for me to wrap my head around, why can't we receive? Why can't we accept help? Who told us that it makes you bad, or that like you have to be proud you can't take help? You get a flat tire on the side of the road, you'll take that help. Why won't you take the other help? I just want to be really clear here that we have to help each other, but we also have to like stop judging each other. I don't know her story, and it's none of my business. It really is none of my business. But I could help her. But she wouldn't take it. That has me spiraling. I mean, I came home, like texted Nigel while we're in the movie, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so fucked up right now. And he's like, what? He's like, oh my God, call an Uber, right? No, but really, he was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I just had this insane experience. I texted my best friend. I was just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm like heartbroken right now. And, I actually communicated the next day with a really good client who's now a friend and a colleague and somebody who I love. And I was like, hey, like, I want to understand this situation from a human design perspective, because it impacted me so much that I didn't sleep that night. Like, I didn't sleep at all. I just kept replaying the situation. I kept feeling how soft her hands was, kept seeing her eyes. I kept seeing her kids' eyes, and wishing I had said, oh, Venmo me or Apple Pay me or like whatever. And I didn't, and didn't sleep. And then the next day is like, I woke up sad. I woke up absolutely traumatized. And I'm not a sad person anymore. I used to be. And, I processed it, with this friend of mine who does human design. And, she helped me kind of come to this realization that this happened for me. Like, this was a lesson in, Karissa, you're asking for bigger stages. You're asking for bigger situations. Can you handle it though? And the answer is yes, I can. But the answer is also, how do I protect myself, right? But you guys don't need to know about this because this is not a podcast about me and my well, I mean, it is a little bit about my experiences, but like there was something in this that is for me to strengthen my ability to hold space for people, right? And so it does have a lot to do with my personal boundaries, you know, and what I take on from other people, which is part of my human design, which is why I reached out to this client, because I can process things for other people. It's part of my magic. It's a gift and a curse. And so I think what happened is I took on her grief. When I held her hand and had that exchange, I think I took on her grief. And so what I've been thinking about since then is, why do we suffer? Why do we allow ourselves to suffer? And why do we suffer for so long? You know, I'm like, how old is this trauma that this woman is carrying? You know? And I think that I want to validate for anyone who's still listening that it doesn't have to be big. Trauma doesn't have to be big. Like having a home where things were seemingly normal, but your mom yelled a lot. Like that's trauma. You know, parents getting a divorce, that's trauma. Like kids getting sick, that's trauma. You being sick, that's trauma. Your grandma dying, that's trauma. Like trauma doesn't have to be, oh, I survived childhood cancer, or, you know, my mom died, or like, yeah, there's big things that happen. Those are traumas, but there's little things that happen that are also traumas, and they can have the same effect on somebody and really have a hard impact on somebody's life, and it needs healing nonetheless. Like, so whatever it is for you, whatever you're avoiding, right? You know, I mentioned, you know, she's either running towards that high again or she's running from something. This is just my personal like belief around that. You know, whatever she's running from, she's not alone. Somebody else has a similar story, a similar experience, a similar hardship. And that's what I want to validate. Like whatever you're going through, you're likely not in it alone. And we need to come together. We need to support each other. We need community. We need like-minded people to lift us up and say, hey, babe, like, I know you're down. Let me carry you for a second, right? Like, and we need to receive those gifts and know that when the time is right, we can pay it back, right? Like there was a time I needed those gifts from people, and I don't think I received it either. And this was the interesting thing, is it led to this conversation last night that I had with Nigel, you know, where he's like, how are you doing? Like checking in, you know, and because he was like, man, I've never seen you so, like, I mean, you guys, I was uncontrollably crying like throughout the whole day. I was driving, I was crying. I couldn't listen, like I was silent, I was crying. I was washing dishes, I was crying. I was, you know, starting a fire, I was crying. I was voice noting this client, I was crying. Like it really impacted me. And, you know, he's like, why do you think it hit you so hard? And I said, because she's me. Had I not chosen myself those 6 years ago, she's me. That's what would have happened to me, is I likely would have been running from stuff still. And that hit me so hard that there was a large piece of this experience where I saw what could have been my future, because I didn't have my shit together. I was miserable. I was running. I was drinking way too much back then, numbing, trying to avoid it. And I saw myself in her. I was like, I'm pretty sure, you know, he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure like we would have been divorced and I would have been alone, or I would have met somebody else and had more children, because that's all I wanted at that time. And I would have had a very different life. But the life I have now, I have because I chose healing. I chose myself. I chose to get curious about, how do I feel better? How do I transform? How do I find my purpose? How do I live in my purpose? What does joy feel like? I just started to get curious about everything. How can my marriage be better? How can I love the work that I do? How can I feel really good in my body? How can I feel really good in my mind? How can I feel really good, mentally, emotionally, physically, like all the things. Like, what is joy for me? What is love for me? I'm on this self-discovery too. There's podcast episode coming out about, like, I never knew what love was. Unconditional love. That was never modeled for me in a home. I never saw it. It was never modeled for me. I never saw it in anyone around me. I just now am discovering what love is, unconditional love. And I think it was terrifying to see that my life could be very different. And I have a lot of grief around that, because that's scary to think about. And then I have a lot of grief around, it makes me absolutely, like, heartbroken to think that there's a handful of other women who don't know what joy is, who don't know what love is, who don't know that they can choose themselves, who don't know that curiosity around how it can get better is like as simple and easy as it can get, who don't know that they have more power than they think, who they don't know that they can change their situation. They don't know that it gets better. That breaks my fucking heart. And so, there's a big piece of it too, where I believe that this happened for me so that I never forget how and why this work is so important. It's not about being perfect, you guys. Like, we're all going to get caught with our pants down. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to say the wrong thing. We're going to do the wrong thing. We're going to be tired. You're going to fuck up, and I'm going to fuck up, and there's going to be mistakes. But if we can drop the judgment around each other, and we can start to really look at people with compassion and be like, hey, you're having a day. How can I help? And so it was beautiful to see myself in that new way. And it was beautiful to be reminded of how powerful, coaching and the personal development world, therapy, counseling, all of it, to see how beautiful and transformative that work can be for people. And I really think it's beautiful to have had the opportunity to see how different my life could have been. And the one thing I would say to this woman, if I ever saw her again, was, how can I help? How can I help you see that you have choice, that you can choose something different, that there's multiple pathways here, that there's opportunities for you. I know it doesn't feel that way now, but I think one of my superpowers and why I am a good coach is like, I see your potential. I see what you can create. And I know that you can create it because I did it. And I did it from the depths of hell. And it's not an easy path to change, to break the habit of being yourself, but it's worth it. And there is more for you. And it really is just about knowing that there's a different option, knowing that there are more choices out there, and getting curious about what those are, what it could look like for you. So this situation happened. I think it happened for a multitude of reasons, and I'm so thankful it happened. I really, really am so thankful it happened. And I'm just praying for the world now, but prayer isn't enough, right? There's action I'm doing. There's things that I'm working on behind the scenes, because I believe this was an initiation into, okay, it's time to do more. Because I saw what was possible for this woman. And if I hold that door open long enough, if I hold that potential for her, just the light, if I just illuminate that light in her direction, she can choose to step into the light. And this is the thing too, it's like knowing that I can't drag her into a new situation. Like, she has to accept it, right? So I beg of you, walk towards the light. Take one fucking step into curiosity. Take one fucking step into choosing yourself, getting curious about what is joy for me, what is love for me, what is peace for me, what is success for me, what do I value, what do I want in life, where are my boundaries blurred, how am I sabotaging myself, am I blocking my receptibility, am I not seeing the opportunities because I'm not willing to receive, am I closing off my potential? Am I not in my purpose? What is my purpose? How can I feel better? How can I live better? How can this get better? Choose yourself. Pick one. And just take one small step. And then every day you take one small step. And you just continue to take small steps. And over time, you'll change your fucking life. You'll change your life. Yeah, life is happening for you. And I know it's shitty. And I've been there. And I'm sorry you're going through it. I'm sorry you're having a hard time. And I just want to shine the light on it gets better. It really does. It can get better. But there are choices that you have to make. And you have to choose differently. You have to create new pathways. You have to break old habits. And old habits die hard. I get it. I really do. And I'm not perfect. There are plenty of habits I can continue to break. There are plenty of things I could do differently. I could cuss less. I could spend less time on social media. I could, sleep with my phone in a different room. I could not fall asleep to Netflix. I could do so many things differently, right? We all can. I could slow down instead of drive fast. I could not drink coffee. I could never drink champagne again, which, you guys, I'm sorry. I came here to enjoy life, so that one's sticking around. But, we could all do things differently. I could definitely exercise more instead of going up a jean size, right? But it's all about, how do you feel? Do you want to feel better? And what's the pathway for you? What needs to change so that you can feel better? So it's not about being perfect. It's not about changing everything. I'm not over here trying to be some righteous, holy motherfucker trying to tell you how to live your life because I've got it all figured out and I'm totally perfect. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I am the most aligned, authentic version of myself. And I wake up happy, minus this one day. I wake up excited to live. I wake up happy with my life. I love the work that I do. I love the activities I do. I'm so madly in love with my husband and my daughter and everything about our lives. Minus everyone who's been here a while. I would move to the farm in a fucking heartbeat and not live in the city anymore. But, we're still working on that one. I'm grooming Nigel. Anyways, you guys, I love you. And I'm sorry if you're having a hard time. And I just hope that you know that there are people out there who want to love you, support you, and give you, a boost of love and confidence and, be your cheerleader. And if you don't have anyone in your life who is that for you, please, please, please reach out. I would love to cheer you on as you look to live better, feel better, and really enjoy this life because it does go by so quick, We think that there's never enough time and there isn't because there's so much we could do, but it's about living that aligned life doing less of what we think we need to do or what we should be doing, and more about finding who we are, loving ourselves as we are, and then being that best version of ourselves. That's the best gift you could give yourself. And it doesn't have to cost a lot of time or money or energy even. It can be slow and simple, baby steps. Love you guys. I hope you're taking care of yourself, and I will look forward to the next critical conversation.